I can't.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. We'll make it through. It's not a complicated service.
Do the mess around.
So you know, they can intro music, but nobody started. I need to know that you're over there.
Lord, it seems like, I don't know, you feel like things are starting to get rolling with your campaign? Or?
You know, we're starting to get some national attention. I'm going to be on another show, the Humanist Report, on Tuesday. But, so I was at this Martin Luther King Jr. Thing last night at City Hall. And now this is the third time someone's approached me to say, I really like you. This is Kimberly Scott Munson, who's on the Fresno County Board of Education.
Right.
And she was like, but you know, Jim is going to be running in this district for Costa.
He's running in that district?
He's moving over from his to run this one. And so I was like, yeah, so I'm well aware. Well, you know, I've been talking to some people, and we think you should probably run for city council. So it's the third time somebody from the party has suggested I run for something else.
Oh, man. Costa needs to move on. He's a good guy and everything, in general. But he's so deeply indoctrinated into the system there that I don't think that he's not an agent for change. He's not.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. I mean, your net worth is plus $3 million, and you actively block. So, like Build Back Better, he was one of the 9 Democrats that said he would not vote for Build Back Better unless they separated it from the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
And as soon as they separated it, said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna vote for it anyway." So, not like very clearly to me. It's like,
Well,
since I've been inside the beltway, if you will.
there was one question, if I remember, that they asked you. You responded. The wages haven't effectively changed in 20 years, and then you kind of stopped and I think recorrected yourself. It was really at least 40 years.
A long time, yeah.
Possibly 50, but it's at least 40. So, yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to pound that point. Tim, we had to move this one back a little. All right, you did. All right.
All right. What are we doing for intro music? Which one are we doing for the intro? The music to gather? I had a golden tick, or the golden thread one? Okay.
As long as we can maintain eye contact between these two.
Okay. Oh, then I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll leave it there.
Sorry about that.
Nope, that's okay.
because that wall behind you is curved.
Right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
for Stolen Thunder. Hola. Buenos dias. Mi nombre es Timoteo. My name is Tim, and I serve gratefully as minister of this fine institution, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, California. So, welcome today. Welcome to everyone for our annual Dr. Martin Luther King Day weekend Sunday service. Welcome to everybody who is joining us on our virtual campus, and welcome to everyone, the hundreds and hundreds who have packed this sanctuary in our Alluvial Avenue Church campus. We are one congregation in many places. This morning, we honor the native land that our church was built upon. We acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue Church campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples who continue as ancestral stewards of this land. As Unitarian Universalists, we welcome you no matter your race, culture of origin, age, spiritual background, or religious beliefs. We welcome you no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, your level of education, or your neurodiversity. You're welcome with or without documentation, con papeles y sin papeles. No human being is illegal in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, and may that someday be true in the United States of America. As Unitarian Universalists, we not only open our doors to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, we value diversity of sexuality and gender and see it as a spiritual gift. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. If you are on our virtual campus and you wish to share a joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude on both our alluvial and our virtual campuses, please enter those now in the chat box. We need you to type your joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude now, and then they're going to be written down and given to me so I can include them later in the service. If you don't do it now in the chat box, we won't have time to include them. Want to give a quick shout out and celebration. Last night was our second musical fundraiser, Lorenzo and Company, and thanks to all who bought a ticket and attended. It was really an extraordinary evening of music. I was, quite frankly, just blown away, not just at the amount of musical talent that is part of this congregation, but one person had to arrange and direct that. And quite frankly, Lorenzo, you are a musical genius. There is a second showing today at 3 p.m. It is well worth the view. I just wanted to point out I'm on fire today, you may notice. This is my fire stole. It's only the second time I've ever worn it since I bought it, but I thought today, since it's Dr. Martin Luther King Sunday, and I think of his one quote, you should not sit out a revolution. And also with Ida as our guest preacher today, we know it's going to be on fire. So in honor of Dr. King and Ida. Now, in the chat box, in person on Alluvial Ave, as you feel safe, or in the silent sacredness of our hearts, let's take a moment to safely greet one another at whichever sanctuary you find yourself in.
Hey guys.
Hello!
Just blended into the scenery. Oh, I didn't get the right one. Dang. I usually write one, but I had to go pick up the girls this morning. Morning.
They're feisty on the Alluvial Ave campus today. Whew. So let the sacred sound of the tingsha carry us to that quiet. Pat, you're misbehaving. Let the sound of the tingsha carry us to that quiet place within that knows hope, that knows joy, and knows that our life is a precious gift to this world.
One, two, three, four.
As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mil of gray, are charged with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people here are singing bread and roses, bread and roses. As we come marching, marching, we battle to for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient cry for bread. Small art and love and beauty, their drudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we cry for, but we fight for roses too. As we come marching, marching, we bring the greater days. The rising of our children means the rising of the race. Nor more the Trojan lighter, tin toil when one reposes, but sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Ida. My name is Ida Jones. I serve gratefully as a member of your worship arts team, and I'm today's guest speaker. If you're on the virtual campus and you have a candle or a chalice, bring it close, as we'll be lighting it soon. Intention. In the law, we speak of intention as a voluntary and deliberate choice of action. According to Katie Covey, Director of RE Resources for Soul Matters, living with intention means creating a quiet space that allows us to connect with who we authentically are, a space that protects us from the pressure to accomplish and instead makes room to ask questions of integrity. And if we are able to carve out a quieter space, then maybe we will discover that this isn't the year of finally becoming a better me. Maybe we'll decide it's enough to simply, finally, be me. In that spirit, I invite you to light your chalice or your candle at home. Tim, are you ready to light the chalice for our Alluvial Avenue campus?
I've got the fire, Ida. I've got
Okay.
the fire.
With that fire, let us rise now in body or spirit and join in singing our song of praise, We Rise. Tim will teach us the hand dance that goes along with it.
So you are blessed because today we're not just singing, but we are moving our bodies with the hand dance. So some of you will know this, and for some of us it'll be the first time. So it's basically a snap and then a tap here. So it's in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, we rise. Ba-ba-ba-da-ba. That's it. Now, Hannah pointed out that I always do it with one arm, and after a while, everybody's arms get tired. So you are free in the freedom of Unitarian Universalism to use whatever arm you wish, when you wish it. Just don't poke the person next to you in the eye. Take it away, Stolen Thunder.
1, 2, 3, 4.
In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise, humbly hearted rise. We won't be divided, rise. With spirit to guide us, rise. You guys sing too. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise up from the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise fighting for life, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here.
All
right, great job,
everybody. Stand as we say together the mission of our congregation. La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Please be seated. I was aware as we were moving and breathing together, yet again, what a precious gift it is to be able to bring breath into the body, what the Eastern traditions call the life force prana. what the Jewish tradition calls ruach, the spirit of life. And so, with gratitude, I invite us together to take a deep breath in. As we do so, we breathe in peace, we hold a moment, we breathe out love. And yet again, we breathe in peace, we hold a moment, we breathe out love. Again, breathing in peace, we hold, we breathe out love. As we continue breathing together in this space made sacred by our intention to be together, to be united in love and hope, I invite you to allow your breath symbolically to carry you back over the last week, the last 7 days of your living. And as we breathe, a question: are you staying connected to nature in some way to allow yourself to experience the natural calming and centering that nature offers us each and every moment of the day? As we sit together, breathe together, reflect together, we move into our time of sharing joys and sorrows, concerns and gratitudes. Each one of us carried a whole mixture of living and life with us into our service. And some of us stopped at the small table at the entrance to the sanctuary. Others on our virtual campus took time to write in the chat box, and we have a whole lot. Alice Richards from France, I might add, is joyful. Thank you to connect with all of you from my home in Paris. We send you our love. Alice Richards is the beloved sister of Anna. Lynn Kimbark is asking for prayers for 5-year-old Sarah, who is fighting to stay or leave this world in her struggle with cancer, and for her family who bears witness. And so let's just take a moment in silence and hold 5-year-old Sarah and her family in our thoughts or prayers. Deborah from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, is feeling sorrow at the death of her uncle-in-law, Fred, last Friday. Please hold his wife and her favorite aunt in your hearts. Evan has joy and sorrow, happy that the hostages in Texas got out alive, but sorry a sacred life was lost. Thank you for that reminder, Evan. Also, Evan is feeling grateful to Jeremiah and his musical mixing abilities for the concert last night, and Dave and Sharon are also grateful for the music last night that filled our home, presented by Lorenzo and Company. Nancy is feeling a joy. A special thank you to Debbie, Carolyn, Jody for all their hard work in our orchards and on the grounds. And I'll also add to that list Bill. Bill Murphy has been doing a whole lot of work as well, fixing the drip sprinkler system. Ken is feeling grateful for those bringing and thinking about bringing food donations for Valley Children's Hospital and Wesley Food Pantry. And Lisa has fingers crossed that Jamie gets her surgery tomorrow. The hospitals are overrun right now. Please get vaccinated and keep your mask on. Thank you for that reminder. And Jamie, if surgery does happen tomorrow, again, we're surrounding you in light and love. And if there's a weight to it, we're still surrounding you with light and love. And I'll just add, I don't have a mask on because I'm distanced from everyone else, but I put it on when I'm not up here. Want to lift up the life of Josie Chapin, whose beautiful 72 years of loving and living joyously was celebrated yesterday in a beautiful celebration of life, both here and on our virtual campus. I want to lift up the painful irony that on this weekend, when we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King and all those who worked for voting rights for Black Americans, we need to mourn what is most likely the devastation of the 2 Senate bills to protect voting rights, including the John Lewis Freedom to Act vote. This imperils democracy and threatens the 2022 and 2024 elections, and shame on 2 votes that should have been yes. This comes on top of the destruction of the Build Back Better plan, which, among other things, would have put many different ways in place to slow the advance of climate change. This will impact generations to come and threatens our country and our planet's future. Again, shame for those 2 votes that should be yes. We lift up our beloveds, Judy P., Molly K., who had a very rough week, Glenda R., Pat M., Dwayne B., who continues in the gentle embrace of hospice care. We also lift up Al G. and Brandon, the son of our administrator, Jody, who took a very critical turn for the worse this past week. So please hold Brandon in your prayers. He's back in the ICU. For all that's been shared, for all that we hold in the sacred silence of our own hearts, and for all those who on this day have no one to remember them with gentleness or kindness or care, we light our candle of community. By our remembering, may we and they be blessed. We light our second candle, as has been our custom, for now 5.52 million citizens of the world who have died in this ongoing pandemic, and the estimated 845,000 citizens of the United States. So in their memory and in the light of our candles, we celebrate our ability to breathe on this day. Meditation on breathing.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Quando respiro, respiro paz. Quando exhalo, exhalo amor. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Quando respiro, respiro paz. Quando exhalo, exhalo amor. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Quando respiro, respiro paz. Quando exhalo, exhalo amor.
Will you join with me in the spirit of mindfulness or prayer. With these words from the Reverend Derek Jackson, a BIPOC minister in Unitarian Universalism. Let us pray. Holy oneness, divine blessing, fuente de amor. Be with us in this time trial. So much is uncertain. The way forward is unclear. Help us to find balance. Help us to face what comes with awareness and integrity. Remind us of our responsibility to ourselves and our community. Remind us to hold each other in love as we are all doing the best we can. May we receive the blessings of peace, discernment, balance, and love as we continue along this journey. Así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Yeah, go for it. That was awesome. Remember I said musical genius? Just a very short reading before we sing, and then Ida as guest speaker. Unitarian Universalism has had a long history with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was first introduced to Unitarian Universalism while a graduate student at Boston University in Massachusetts in the early 1950s, where he would go and hear the great Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Greeley, preach. A dozen years later, Unitarian Universalists sent more ministers to march with Dr. King in Selma in 1965 than any other denomination in the country, even though we are one of the smallest denominations in the country. 2 Unitarian Universalists were martyred there. Viola Luiso was shot dead by the KKK while she was transporting racial justice activists to the airport. The Reverend James Reeb, a Unitarian Universalist minister, was beaten to death in the street by white men with clubs who were opposed to desegregation and voting rights for Black Americans. Dr. King considered himself a friend of Unitarian Universalism, although if he were alive today at 93, he would look Unitarian Universalism square in the eye and say there's much left to dismantle about white supremacy culture in this faith tradition. The following words were spoken by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association on May 18th, 1966. One of the great misfortunes of history is that all too many individuals and institutions find themselves in great periods of change and yet fail to achieve the new attitudes and outlooks that the new situation demands. There is nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution. And there can be no denying the fact that a social revolution is taking place in our midst. I must say to you this evening, my friends, there are some things in our nation and in our world to which I'm proud to be maladjusted. And I call upon you to be maladjusted and all people of goodwill to be maladjusted to these things until the good society is realized. I never intend to adjust myself to racism and discrimination. I never intend to become adjusted to religious bigotry. I never intend to adjust myself to economic conditions that will take the necessities from many to give luxuries to the few and leave millions of people perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of prosperity. I must honestly say that I never intend to adjust myself to the madness of militarism. I believe firmly that our world is in dire need of a new organization, the International Association for the Advancement of Creative Maladjustment. We need people as maladjusted as the prophet Amos, who, in the midst of the injustices of his day, cried out in words that echo across the centuries, "Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." I want to be as maladjusted as Abraham Lincoln, who had the vision to see that this nation could not survive half slave and half free. As maladjusted as Jesus of Nazareth, who could say to the people of his day, "You who live by the sword will perish by the sword." Through such maladjustments, we will be able to emerge from the bleak and desolate midnight of racial inhumanity into the bright and glittering daybreak of freedom and justice. I know that there are still difficult days ahead, and they are days of glorious opportunity. We will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony. I invite us to rise in body or spirit and join in singing, "We Shall Not Be Moved." If you feel like moving and clapping, feel free.
One, two, three.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. No, no, no nos moverán. No, no, no nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán. All of us together, we shall not be moved. All of us together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Unidos en la lucha, no nos moverán. Unidos en la lucha, no nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán. Together we will triumph, we shall not be moved. Together we will triumph, we shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We veremos, no nos moverán. Unidos venceremos, no nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. No, no, we moverán. No, no, no nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán.
Please be seated. So it is my great pleasure to introduce to you one of my favorite people on planet Earth, Ida Jones. Ida is a person of integrity, of dignity, and of great strength and courage. She was president of the congregation in the first weeks and months of this pandemic and was part of the leadership team that moved us through those first uncertain days that continue even now. She is a devoted mother, a devoted grandmother, a beloved professor at Fresno State. Please welcome our own Ida Jones.
Thank you. And do you want a check or cash for that? Today's sermon I titled "The Miners' Canary, Black Women, and the Labor Movement." Mississippi's first labor union was a union of washerwomen formed in 1866. How did that happen? These women weren't being paid very well, or at all in some cases. So they adopted a resolution which they sent to the mayor and told the mayor that they would be charging a uniform rate for their work. 20 years later, black women who served as domestic workers and laundry workers in Atlanta decided that they would join a union, or create a union, and they would also charge a flat rate for the work that they did. Not only did they agree to charge a flat rate, but they also included anyone who was doing that kind of work, including white women. So not only were they a union of black workers, they wanted to show that there was unity in the work that they were doing and trying to get fairness in the work. Black women have continued to lead unions organizing in the industries that black women typically were the majority in. So in washers and laundries, restaurant, I would say servers, but they weren't the servers that we know now, but rather behind the scenes and doing the cleaning and the other work behind the scenes. And you have had black women who are leading those movements and continue to lead them through the 60s and beyond. So how did I get this title? Black Women, the Miners' Canary of the Labor Movement. Well, you may know what a miner's canary was, but I'll tell you, for those of you who didn't know. Canaries were used first by British and then US and Canadian miners in the coal mines as a signal to find out whether there were poisonous gases in the mines. Gases such as carbon dioxide was a common gas that would be in the mines, and the belief that canaries were the best representatives is because of apparently birds and canaries specifically breathe faster. So if there were poisonous gases, the canaries would die, and that would tell the miners to get out of there because there were poisonous gases. Of course, now we would frown upon that use of canaries, and since then we now have electronic methods of identifying when there are poisonous gases in the mine. So the canary served as an early warning of, in that case, danger. So the phrase, the miner's canary, has been used to note that what happens to black women often has been a preview of the social and economic conditions that would occur to everyone. So we had those women in the 1800s who were forming unions, and what happened later? In the 1930s, well, before that, the 1920s and 30s, workers began to unite, and through a lot of trauma, if you saw, what was the Flying Nun? Sally Fields, what was the movie she was in? Yes, thank you, Coal Miner's Daughter. Thank you very much. I always do that. I always, mess up the names. I have to write down names, otherwise they just, whoosh, they're gone. So thank you very much for that. In that movie, you saw the trauma that she went through trying to participate in a union, and if you haven't seen the movie, it's a really good movie. It's old, but it's really good. It was in the 1920s and 30s that workers that were organized would be arrested. Some would be beaten. They would be moved away from their homes and their families, all because they wanted to unite to get an opportunity to get more equitable treatment. It was that conduct that resulted in the labor laws of the 1930s and 40s, the federal labor laws in the 1930s and 40s. specifically authorizing employees to be able to join in unions if they want to. Doesn't that seem so? We assume that workers ought to be able to unite and talk to each other and create unions to organize, but that wasn't so acceptable in the early 1900s. Also the reason that I use the miner's canary analogy is that if black women are able to help improve conditions, then that will also help improve conditions for other people as well. So sort of the rising tide idea, that you start with one group and other groups will be treated better also. So how does this relate to our monthly theme of living with intention? Well, I believe living with intention means looking at past accomplishments and past deeds to figure out what you're going to do for the future. Now, how many of you made New Year's resolutions? Oh, not very many. Maybe 5 on the virtual campus? Maybe you made them? Why don't more people make resolutions? Because they don't work. Right, I heard someone say that. They don't work. Right, you make the resolution on the 1st, and perhaps as late as the 2nd, that goes by the wayside. But I think it's okay to have your goals and resolutions for what you want to accomplish. Whether you do it at New Year, some people do it every month, some people don't do it at all, some do it once a decade, whatever the time is, where you just sit and think about, well, what do I want to do? I've got to do something, right? And that's part of being Unitarian Universalist, is that I've got to do something. But how do I do this in a way that I actually accomplish something? One of the things we should do is look at what we've done in the past. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples in a minute. Have we accomplished what we wanted? Or have we not done as much as we wanted to do? And why is that? Is there something else that needs to be done before you can accomplish whatever that task or that goal is? Is there something that can be added to tell us how we want to accomplish that goal? Through assessing what we've done in the past, we can better guide our journey to more of the same or different intentions for the future. So if you're planning and setting your intentions for the future, a necessary prerequisite is that you need to look at the past. Not to dwell on it, not to blame yourself, not to say, oh, if I'd been a better mother, grandmother, teacher, but just to look at what you've accomplished and to be sure to look at what you've accomplished. Not what you didn't accomplish, although you can look at that too, but look at what you've accomplished, look at what you've done. That is an important part of living with intention. That can help guide you for those things that you would like to do in the future. So raise your hand if you've ever had a goal to increase your fitness, eat healthier, or lose weight. It's always on my list of resolutions, too. Oh, okay. You can see that I still have a little bit of work to do to accomplish at least some of that. But have you detailed what that really means? I have this game that I play on the computer, and I don't know, I think Google watches me all the time, just as they watch the rest of us, and I always get these ads for if you buy these pills and drop them into a glass of water and you drink it, you can lose 17 pounds in 10 days. I always get those ads. I'm like, really? I mean, I'm not gonna, if that was really true, it would be all over the news. They wouldn't have to do one little ad after a game. everybody would know about it. And they'd sell out of those pills so quickly. So anyway, but I always get that. So, Google's paying attention to what I'm doing. So one of the things I wanted to do is to talk about how we use that concept of SMART goals to see if we can make whatever choices that we make more intentional. And I'll talk about SMART goals, although we've talked about it in the past, but I'll give you some examples. So let's say my goal is to eat healthier. Okay, not the lose weight part, but at least eating healthier. What does that mean? What does eating healthier mean? More vegetables. Who said that? More vegetables. Good. That's my goal, is to eat more vegetables. And so how do I do that? It's a more specific goal. So when you talk about SMART goals, it's more specific, right? Eat vegetables. Now, I will tell you, I have been toying with being vegan. And some of you may, yeah, I said toying with. I said that on purpose. Because my excuse is it's really hard to do. And to a certain extent it is, because you have to adjust what you think of as acceptable. So I've been eating more vegetables. Unfortunately, some of those vegetables include potatoes. They're vegetables, right? Oh, you want to change my goal to green vegetables, huh, Saul? Okay, be even more specific, green vegetables. So that would exclude potatoes, though. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But certainly that's a more specific goal. Eating vegetables and even eating green vegetables is an even more specific goal. So now how do you measure that? There are lots of ways to measure it. The way I'm measuring it now is I try to eat green vegetables, and they are green vegetables, at the end of the day. When I usually reach for something sweet, I reach for a green vegetable. So that's more measurable, right? Because I know at the end of the day, if I've done it, then yay. And if I haven't done it, okay, next time. And then the goal has to be attainable, something you can actually accomplish, right? Not from starting tomorrow, I'm only going to eat healthy. Because you know what will happen by tomorrow night. Oh, I've eaten healthy enough during the day. I'm just going to eat healthy, more unhealthy, just for a short time. And it undoes all the things that I was trying to accomplish. But attainable means a shopping list. It means prepping veggies in advance. That's what helps me, is if I have the vegetables there in the fridge and I can open the fridge and see them right there, okay. They have to be relevant, and in that case it's easy because it's my own personal goal. And then time-bound. What period of time am I going to do this? Well, the goal would be every day. The scientific research says it takes about 6 weeks to develop a habit. So I'm going for 6 weeks where I do that, and hopefully it will then become manageable. Now that's an easier kind of SMART goal. I won't have time to go through the detail of the second example, but let me just start it at least. My second example is I want to do more to follow the principle of believing in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. That's one of our core principles. That's sometimes hard to do. I mean, do you know people that you have a hard time appreciating? Yeah, I mean, we all do. Whatever the reason is, we do have people that we have a hard time appreciating. But that inherent worth and dignity is too big to try to implement as a goal, right? So, what would I do? The example I'm going to use is, I think I told you last week I'm kind of a computer geek, And I use Nextdoor, this app, to find out about my neighbors. And I'm not all that happy about them, but at least some of them. But one of the things that bugs me is they talk about the unhoused people and the encampments that they've built. And they talk about it ad infinitum. And so what I'd like to do is to, as a more specific goal, give them more information so that they can get a more complete picture. So, how do I do that? Well, I get myself in trouble because when they start talking about it, then I bring up information. Specifically, I link to websites that discuss the issues of being unhoused and how that happens and what it means, and some of the solutions. Now, for many on the app, they're concerned that their property values are going to go down, or that they can't walk to the store, or they can't go to the store. And, you know, my answer to them is, of course you can. But you have to see people, not as someone who's unhoused. They're a person. And how we define a person isn't by a specific characteristic. So I could call you orange pants wearer. That's who you are, right? And that's all I'm going to call you. I don't say anything about you. I don't talk about the kind of work you do and, you know, working in a nursing home and all the good stuff that you do. I just call you orange pants wearer. I'm sorry for picking on you. I hope you don't mind. This is Jamie's friend, so I'm hoping I'm not severing the friendship by picking on you. And that's not my intention, but rather to just pick out, how do you define someone by one characteristic? Well, you can't, because we are more than just one characteristic. And so I am doing more to try to inform the people in my neighborhood about the situation. The other thing that we had done as a family was to prepare packages and deliver them to people who were unhoused and in encampments. One of the things that we specifically did, though, is to talk to people. Don't just hand them a bag and say, okay, good luck. We talked to people. And it reminded me again of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It was so amazing. At several of the encampments, the person who took the bags started handing them out. They didn't just hoard them all, right? I mean, our presumption, sometimes people's presumption is that, oh, they're not going to care about anybody else. They're just going to take, because that's the way we are, right? Sometimes we don't care about anybody else. If I've got some candy, I'm not going to share it with you unless you make me. And sometimes we do that, right? We get something and we just don't share it. But it was so awesome to see how they were sharing. They would go from, and this was a really, really cold, windy day, so there weren't a lot of people who would come out. They went from door to door and handed out the bags to people. It was really amazing. And so to wrap up, since I can't go through everything because I've run out of time, living intentionally can be challenging. And maybe you can think of the other ways that you'd fill out the other part of the SMART goals in that situation. Living intentionally can be challenging. But first we have to look at what we've done, and then look at what we want to do, and celebrate for ourselves those things that we have accomplished, and look forward to the things that we plan to accomplish in the future. Thank you.
stand up and make good trouble. Speak up and make good trouble. Get up and make good trouble. Rise up and make good trouble. Stand up and make good trouble. Speak up and make good trouble. Get up and make good trouble. Rise up and make good trouble. Stand up and make good trouble. Speak up and make good trouble. Get up and make good trouble. Rise up and make good trouble. Never, never be afraid to make some noise. Make some noise. Never, never be afraid to make some noise. Make some noise. Never,
This is the struggle of a lifetime.
Make some noise.
Makes good trouble.
This
is the struggle of a lifetime. Make good trouble. This is the struggle of a lifetime. And make good trouble. This is the struggle of a lifetime. And make good trouble.
I love how our virtual campus is allowing us to discover some really remarkable musical artists from around the country, Unitarian Universalist musical artists. So I want to take a moment to just speak quickly and directly to those on our virtual campus. The virtual campus is a blessing, for so many of us would not be connected to this wonderful congregation if it wasn't for the cameras and the microphones that bring us into your home each Sunday. Do you know that it takes 12 hours of a videotext time each week to prepare this broadcast? Do you know that it takes 4 hours on average of the music text time to prepare and then broadcast? Those folks are talented staff members. We have to pay them. We want to pay them, and we want to pay them fairly, which I'm happy to say we do. So those of you on the virtual campus, we need your help. We need your financial contributions. I'm aware that things are tight for many of us, but I'm aware that things are not tight for many of us. In a church community, those who have more give more for those who aren't able to. That's what it means to be part of a church community. In that spirit, both on Alluvial Ave, and you will have an opportunity as you exit the sanctuary to drop something in the baskets if you wish, or you can pull out your smartphone and do it right now. But together, let us say our words of offering. If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? There will be a slide in a moment showing you how you can make financial contributions. And also, as you leave the sanctuary, the ushers will have pieces of paper with food items that are needed for Wesley Food Pantry and the food pantry at Valley Children's Hospital. We ask you to take that slip of paper with one item, bring it back next week as we collect those food stuffs. Thank you in advance for your generosity. May we continue to be worthy of the many forms of your gifts.
So living with intention. As we consider our New Year's resolutions or yearly goals, we should reflect on what we have done, not only what we plan to do. Growth is an essential part of my life, and it's important to look at what I've done because that's important too. As a church community, you have helped me consider what I can contribute and whether it helps in some small measure to make a difference for others. Thank you to all of you, my church family, both here on the Alluvial campus and on the virtual campus as well. As we prepare to end our service and enter into our afternoon, please join us in our Chalice Extinguishing words led by Karen and Troy.
Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts.
Thank you. This has been great. It's so wonderful to be in the in-person Alluvial campus for a while, and I will see you again on the virtual campus.
Give it up for Ida.
Tim, I believe you have some reminders for us.
Let's do, Ida, a few quick reminders. First, as you exit, please remember, let our socially distanced folks exit out those doors first, and then the rest of you can join them. I hope you will join me tomorrow morning for the annual Martin Luther King Community March. It is in-person gathering at St. John Cathedral on Mariposa Avenue in downtown Fresno. We're going to join about 9:40-ish. The march begins at 10 a.m. I will have the yellow Stand on the Side of Love banner. I'll have my yellow Social Justice Unitarian Universalist hat, and I'll have my yellow stole. And I hope you'll join me as we march for justice, as is a tradition in Fresno. Coffee hour after the service on our Alluvial Ave, and the heaters are roaring and going to keep you nice and toasty. Want to remind you that our exciting Sweet Heart of an Auction, virtual auction, will be February 6th through the 13th. The link to the website that has all of the offerings will be released this week. It was so much fun last year looking at what was available and bidding and outbidding and getting outbidded and then bidding more. I am going to be donating a $100 gift certificate to Yosemite National Park, so you can go up there and eat at the restaurant or buy souvenirs or just pay to get in there. I'm also going to be hosting another night on Broadway video party with videos, and so we hope you'll join us for that. The question is, what are you going to donate to our Sweetheart of an Auction so that you can help us raise some money and have fun? A soup of the week, cookies, not the week of the month, that would be a lot of cooking, 52 soups. But what is something unique and fun that you could contribute? Please do so, like a concert in the backyard, and there's a suggestion for you. So, before I end, we do have our tradition that if it is your first, second, or third time, we'd like to welcome you here, both on our Alluvial Ave campus, but also on our virtual campus. So on the virtual campus, if this is your first, second, or third time, just type your name and say hello so that we can welcome you virtually. For those of us here on our Alluvial Ave campus, if this is your first, second, or third time, could you stand for just a moment? We won't leave you standing alone for long. Welcome, yay! Welcome, hooray! I invite everyone else to rise with them. If you're with somebody who you are potted with, you may join hands. Otherwise, let's put our hands over the preciousness of our hearts. Our closing words, followed by our sung benediction. I am honored to speak the words of a great social justice titan, Coretta Scott King. She said, "Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. Our work awaits us. Will we answer the call? Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so, blessed be. Amen.
1, 2, 3, 4. Safe passage. Safe, safe passage. May we have safe passage. Safe passage on our way. Safe passage on our way. Wanderer, safe passage on our way. Searcher, safe passage on your way. Sweet pilgrim, safe passage on our way. May we have safe passage. Safe, safe passage. May we have safe passage. Safe passage on our way.
Shalom and assalamu alaikum.
1, 2, 3, 4.